How you doing, everybody? Not sure how well you're gonna be able to hear me. Trying to figure all this out. I was Gary Ferrante, 1979. Everything bred. Uh, I guess the point of this is just trying to figure out the point of my life, how I was raised, the environments, the formats, principles, the struggles, the root of the struggles, what I was gonna be when I grew up, how that influence came about, how I could change it if I wanted to be something else. Why the struggle in the world was the way it was. Why the struggle continued, no matter how many people put effort into changing it. The formats of how interaction made a difference and why. The principles of things and moments of the day, why they happen, what they mean, the influences that led me to be who I was, the way my life led itself. Was I really in control of it? Was there somebody else in control of it? How it worked, how it didn't work. Excuse me. The point behind everybody's influence and offsets, the intentions, the values. So I became a musician and an artist. Years in, I accomplished some pretty amazing things with the help of some pretty amazing people. I started to unveil some things, social culture, a civil culture that's more criminal than the criminal culture, in fact, that causes the criminal culture. Which all kind of leads me to right now in my life, sitting under this tree, this cedar lineage, right? And for the past year, I've been kind of jumping in and out of hotels, sleeping in parks, trying to figure out how to get myself back on my feet without breaking a personal regard to human respect, like what I'm good at, what I want, how I can accomplish it, how the people around me are going to be affected by it. My support systems versus the support systems that get flooded with funding that never really sees its core source or gets separated so many times over before it hits the core source of people. Um, Staying out of the fake things, for me, like I'm not into politics, so I really don't benefit from politics much, you know what I mean? I think religion is a control hype method, so I really don't want to be in a religious facilitation. And that leaves street element, which goes all the way back to slavery, as far as being contained without the ability to use the politics or the religion because they betrayed them at the same part. And we got to become this second institution on the social level to substantiate any kind of life or existence. So you have to kind of be the enemy of your enemy that's the enemy of you and maintain some kind of a human while doing it. So I really had nothing the past year, aside from the help that other people gave me that didn't question anything and gave me the help anyway. Sometimes more pressure than I needed, but needless to say, it was minimal compared to what it could have been. It all started from dysfunction in the household years back, and all of the people that I've known that struggled with conflicts in the household, um, and criminal punishments that don't fit the crimes, um, that don't do anything to resolve the issues, that just cause more funding and allocated resources towards things that don't really do any good. We got people coming out for domestics where the fear of what happened on a TV episode or a news episode where the news broadcasters say, oh my God, and you should see, like, in all the dramatics and this and that. There's so many things, and everybody argues all the points. Well, what about when there's statistical backing that shows the truth and statistical backing that shows the leverage needed for marketing? So anyway, getting back to the point, sleeping in parks with people, ignoring them, them trying to get my attention. Sitting here trying to do what I'm doing with no bother to nothing. People try to get my attention, but no real regard to communication because there's trust factors and damaged issues socially. Um, After the whole year has been done, I've accomplished 3 or 4 albums worth of music. I've learned more about the subliminal marketing and the social culture and how it's meant to protect and destroy at any point in time. I find myself in a position to deal with multiple levels of social interactions. The average person doesn't notice because the influencers are so subtle and they impact and they hit pretty hard with it. Um, but I can't really get myself grounded without sacrificing something or someone because really the original foundation that I kind of was helped in building in the earlier days led me to a really, really strong foundation. Everything else that's offered as far as, the way we socially try to assist and the way we use government funding to assist and political power to assist and religious power to assist falls short because the social culture, the humanity, the influences between the people, which is all of any of what that is, when it comes to the fact that those people are not politicians first. They're human beings first, right? They're not doctors first. They're human beings first. They're not bank accounts first. They're human beings first. And if that human being isn't touched and honored in the humanity of it, the funding doesn't go where it needs to go. And issues of separatism and left and right and red and blue and all of the other subcultures that are built on the same foundations of strength and warfare, power, and social community all kind of damage the actual process of development. Shooting short on this maybe a little bit by a month and a half, but I've had people taunt in my life with the fact that I had to do it on my own for 20 years while influence of music and social culture from me has expanded globally now. Um, and then you got to deal with the prove it, prove it, prove it. Well, I mean, part of what I did and why I did it the way I did was to not have to prove it, not have to substantiate it, to let it substantiate itself, to let the unions of power substantiate itself, let the links of the music speak for the people in silence as it has forever. You know what I mean? One band from England was speaking for all of England's youth. You know what I mean? When they hit the States, and one band or hip hop group from Memphis or from New York or from Florida spoke for the whole culture in those areas. Like the musical choice to power the baseline of the opinions and the structures and the unveiling of some of the inappropriate things and camouflage to things um, was really the only option to allow it to happen in a way that gave the people in charge the humility, but at the same time gave them the power to manipulate it to say, prove it. You know what I mean? Um, Now, you got tons of ways to sabotage things and manipulate things. And as I'm sitting going about the process, putting it all together now, just about a year into it, um, you start to not be able to argue that it's not really meant to be grasped or fulfilled. I mean, the whole point is to keep it looping and to keep the statistical irreverence active so that the funding loops, so that the structure loops, so that everything stays active through generation after generation. My specific situation is kind of self-contained, but at the same time, it ties into every other dynamic, whether it be a DUI somebody suffering with, or I lost my job and the funding's not there, or I sold the rights to something because I was drunk one night on a beach and I didn't realize what I was signing, or a woman betrays a man and falsely charges and there's no real power to credit the truth. Um, because politics diminishes that, and everybody believes that God's going to sort it out. And I mean, who wants to wait until the dead to sort it out anyway when it comes to it? Um, so anyway, I've been learning a lot again in every circumstance like this for my life about how hard it is to embrace giving from other people or to ask for it. Like, you don't want to stand on the corner and look like a stray dog tied to a post just getting money, but you don't want to be humble to where somebody says, look, man, I know where you can go and get some help. Well, is it religious based? Well, I can't do that. Is it politically based? Yeah, well, I can't do that. Well, you don't want help then. Nah, man, I just don't want to be a fraud. You know what I mean? I don't want to pretend there's a God there giving me money when the congregation or the group of people that are giving me money are human beings that work every day that are subdued by the same political power that gives them the freedom of the fake religion to feel like they're doing something and getting something. You know what I mean? So I'd rather the human beings be able to help and hand it, but there's this border we put between people of need, which only means like if your lawnmower belt breaks or your blade breaks on your lawnmower, and I have one at my house and I try to give it to you, there's this level of, well, what are we going to do about the charge in between? Or and when if you give too much, they say it's taking too much, and if you don't give enough, it's not, et cetera, et cetera. Excuse me. For me, I've had a leniency in the process, but at the same time, I'm trying to create a leniency in the process for everybody that shouldn't have to give me a leniency in the process if I'm not doing anything wrong. I was talking to some people I didn't know personally that may have known me or known people I know last night, and I think to myself, there's a patch of land over there. I want to go lay down for a little bit. Well, I can't because it's somebody else's. Well, nobody uses it. Well, that doesn't matter. It's somebody else's. But this way you can be forced to be pressured, you know? So when the money comes in and you either go to the hotel or you rent a place week to week and then the market shifts and adjusts and you don't know why, but you can't really control it because the market's based on the political culture that's based on the interaction with China and Mexico and all the other places in the world we go to war with daily over ego and pride and a lack of truth in politics and religion. And it affects every single human being, what type of shoes you wear, what kind of clothes you walk in, how much your family's going to help, how much your social community is going to help. Are you going to get blindsided and hit in the face with something one day because somebody wants to make a point to you? Um, are you going to get picked up and threatened about a scenario of arrest that doesn't even fit what you're doing because it's not criminal? Um, you know, who wants to be in trouble while already not being able to afford to not be in trouble? Um, who wants to be in an emotional conflict with somebody and really want a solution and not be able to have a solution because you have to sign a contract of separation in order to protect the state from any extra work that they have to do when they know that the work that needs to be done that's tainting the families and the households and the structures is way behind the scenes anyway. So they know they're putting band-aids on things at the cost of other human existence. Um, you know, and a blind shout out to a guy that's asking me a question. I mean, well, clearly I'm talking to something on my phone. Clearly I'm saying something. Clearly I'm doing something, right? Well, clearly his point is you're either not supposed to, or I got something we can do better, or, but that's a marketing spin. Like, if it's not, come sit down, let me finish what I'm doing, and talk to me when I'm done. Like, if you got time for it. If you don't have time for it, I'll see when you pass back through, or any regard of regard. Because when you take away the need for competitive struggle and conflict for value and 10 guys selling CDs out of the back of the car. Well, then it became a marketplace in the city where everybody could sell their CDs together instead of trying to illegally hustle them out of the back of the car. But that only came 15, 20 years later after people were arrested for bootlegging their own CDs out of the back of a car. And I find it amazing to see people struggle through those things. I find it amazing that people don't understand that the segregatory conflict of our social culture exists in churches first, pressed by the power of politics. Like, so as I'm struggling to get off the street and not use all of my money for a hotel every night, not that I mind a hotel, I wish I could get some coupons or somebody build a nice reward system that pays dividends to every hotel visit in every area instead of just each one by each area. Because if I got a different discount at a different hotel company, I mean, come on, like, can't we just make it the best deals always? If you're gonna offer 41 all the time, offer 41 all the time. Um, So anyway, struggling to get on my feet and struggling to do it the right way has me on YouTube now doing this, talking about me at the moment being homeless. Not a lifetime homeless person, but homeless at the moment, based on the fact that I was in an area where I was living somewhere and a conflict arose and a contract of the state led me to not be able to be at that home. Well, that puts me homeless. Could we have worked it out? Yeah. Could we have done multiple other things to work it out? Yeah. Could that contract from the state be a violation of my human civil rights and social rights by putting me at detriment? Yes. Because then I got to struggle to find a place. I'm 20, 30 minutes away from anything where I was living. And the mockery of, well, do you have anybody around here? No. Well, you know I don't, because I always call y'all out behind the scenes on all my live feeds and piss everybody off with the truth of things. So you know my scenario. Well, what if we don't? Well, you do. And the fact that everybody wants to pretend they don't comes into play with the same circumstance. Everybody's dissonant about something. Well, my boss said, your boss said, his boss said, their boss said. You mean that other human being is just as likely to make a mistake as everybody else? So as I'm struggling through it, man, sometimes I get extremely pissed off. And then, had they hit me on that day, it would be, oh, you got an anger problem. Well, of course I do right at the moment. um, I'm also legitimately, man, I can't even give a direct number, but I'll use an estimated. I'm a legitimate 10 to 20 million dollars behind my payment structure that I'm supposed to be getting. I mean, if I was a federal student loan, you'd be in jail by now. I don't even want to joke about the notion of it, but for real, like, I'm millions of dollars behind in what I'm justifiably deserving of, if not owed, which I won't use terms as such for now. But the point is, if any of that came through, I wouldn't be able to exemplify the secondary point and the other primary to it, which is, if the politics weren't fraud and the religion wasn't a scam, none of these things would be going on for 2,000 years or 200 years as they are. And the social community is torn between all these different categories of help and benefit that they themselves can't, what I mean, find a neutral compromise, and they won't, like, because you got the heavier girls in school and guys in school getting picked on by the skinnier guys in school, and, the cultural differences, being bred to hate other cultures by their parents because of how they were mistreated. Not so much a hate for them, but a, hey, they did this to me. Well, I hate them for that. And it becomes a hate whether you want it to be a hate or not. And then you got people in churches arguing with other people because they don't pray to God, or you got NA people and AA people arguing with other people like, hey, why aren't you believing in that? And that's bad for you. That's bad for you. All based on data that's been skewed for so long now, and you know, all of these things influence my day to day every day. And people are like, man, why do you think about such heavy topics when it comes to getting off the street? Just hustle up some money, go do a 9 to 5 here. I mean, I'm millions of dollars indebted to me. You understand? You want me to 9 to 5 until I wait for it? Because I've been waiting 20 years. That means I'd have been 9 to 5 in 20 years as a millionaire. So somebody else can make a point behind the scenes that I'm supposed to be helping make in the social format. None of it makes rational sense, even for somebody that's a powerhouse of silence. You know what I mean? And uh, and then you got all the people that legitimately are saying, don't do it that way, don't do it this way. You're sitting under the wrong tree. If you go down the corner and go over there, half a block and sit over there, then you'll be there. And I remember the 10 officers or so that approached me at a time and place in close proximity to my life's notion now. I'm trying to be as vague with that shit as I can. Because, I don't want 100 after me, to be honest with you. So I guess the point is, I'd like to put some of these together and do some live, pay feeds, and have people start to understand that I'm a speaker with knowledge and prowess, even though I don't have an education on these fundamentals. In fact, the opposite is more valuable for me, because I can point out the errors in the education by being non-educated on those topics, to where I can see the human and the truth behind it, whereas the average person can only see what they were taught to see. Um, and my drill sergeants were hard on me in basic training. It was only there, a year and a half, two in, but we were in the rain one night in a tent, and he was just like, yeah, everybody, this is what it's gonna be like. I don't care what it's gonna be like then. Hit me with a hose for 10 minutes and show me what it's gonna be like. Like, I don't need to find myself all night stuck in the rain over nothing. I don't need 6 months in therapy for uh, my parents getting divorced. If it only take 2 weeks of legitimate data about human beings and how their brain works, we don't need 1,200 years of social separation because somebody doesn't want to tell the truth about what humanity is and what we are and what God really is and God really isn't. While God gets to decide by the church's value, which is a human book by a human spoken word, of what the value of judgment is, even in the building and the structure of the social community. And you can't walk on the property by yourself without being prosecuted. You can't. I mean, you go to a church property. It's like going to the White House, man. You get thrown off the church. You might be a vacancy issue. You might be vandalizing. Hey, it's just all stupid shit. Like that's what you're supposed to tolerate and deal with if your God was real and you were always the cheeker. You know what I mean? Turn your cheek, turn your cheek. That's the stuff you're supposed to deal with. You're supposed to be the person that doesn't need the insurance of that, doesn't need the social insurance, because you got this almighty being on top of your head making sure that you don't have to worry about it. And that's not the case because you do have to worry about it because God's not there doing it. Um, and then everybody has an excuse for that, which leads to a separation further from the truth of things. And then again, I'd like to do these broadcasts more regularly and be able to more regularly because I feel like I've tried to put them all together in these half-hour sessions or whatever they are, and it becomes so jumbled and there's so many topics in one topic. And little wine, go get them, Holmes, go get them. So it becomes all this mess of mess where I'm saying all kinds of things that people that like to tear arguments apart and debate and structure, loopholes in people's arguments that are correct, that are causing things that they care about struggle. You know what I mean? Like nobody in the Klan wants the Klan to look stupid. Nobody in the street clique wants the street clique to look stupid. They're gonna come at you. Nobody in politics wants it. They're gonna come at you. People need to be a little more humble and say, "Oh shit, man, he hit us right where the truth was." I'm glad because now we can fix that problem and fix that problem to resolve that problem. Not shit. They figured out our exploit, how we're exploiting other human beings and people on a day-to-day basis. Because the truth of it is, we're all supposed to be trying to make the best of life, not make the best of damaging life or damaging each other or taking advantage of each other in life. Everything bred from Walmart, man. It's crazy good, boy. So I do these hip hop tracks, and I've been doing pretty good with them behind the magic of. When they hit these top artists, man, or sometimes lower ranked artists, and they're good with them, and they carry them all the way to the top because they get selected well, right? I try to put mine up, and I'm like, man, I want a little bit of flavor from it. I want a little bit of life respect from it. I want a little bit, but the humility behind it and seeing everybody treat me how they treat me and they don't know it's me is crazy exciting too, though, because here I am bitching and crying and screaming sometimes and looking around for help, and all these people like honor or respect some of the things that I've accomplished and hinted on or resisted only to give in to the fact that it's true later on. And not just me, the people that influenced me and my surroundings, etc. And and they would help if they could, if they knew it was me. And then it goes back to the bigger problem again. We got all these problems in the world, and everybody says, well, they can't be solved, and it's impossible to fix it, and God's working on it, and all these real problems, like the God's not there, but everybody keeps telling us He is, and how politics uses that control to make sure we're submissive to a certain, idealistic approach to things. And the whole time, if we let all that go and approached each other without these flaws of expectancy and acceptance, there's an acceptance of each other that comes with it. Like, cool, I'm good with that. Like, hey, I'm stranded, man. I got no hotel. There's a two-queen bed. I'm getting ready to get a hotel, and I see two homeless people. That room got space for 4 people. If y'all can stay chill and mind your own business, and I mind my business in that small space, that puts us in a hotel for $12 each instead of all being stranded and wandering around. Well, I can't count on that because what if you no? That's where everybody misses what I excuse me what I say, and that's just mind your business of concern, and that's it. Just like walking down the street, mind your business of concern. That's it. But we have difficulty doing that because the laws and the regulations are so tainted and twisted. I don't jaywalk, but there ain't no sidewalk. Don't jaywalk, but there ain't no walking light because the town wasn't built for people to walk. But I'm walking. Okay, well, somebody throws a loophole fix in. Somebody throws an irregular fix in. Somebody just budgets this and budgets that. We can't worry about that. We're gonna make it. Russia's trying to hit us with a nuclear bomb. You mean the nuclear bomb that you caused? You know, in conflict to ratio, in flight, baby, in flight. So as I'm sitting and thinking about these things and wondering, man, can they even hear me with my mic set the way it's set? Is gonna matter to people? How can I correlate it to speak all of this 25 years of my life's influence and make 50 cents per person that hears it and push 1 million people to hear it so I make $500,000 when I've spent 25 years giving away stuff that's made 1 million to 25 million a year on what I've offered for free based on the fact that it's righteousness and good human understanding, and it was easy for me. It took an hour in my living room while I was crying and breaking down and screaming a track. And, nobody wants to hit that emotional point. So I might as well give it to somebody that can use it because I'm on a trail of a bigger solution in myself and I don't want to stay at that moment of emotion too long. And, I guess what it really comes down to is that there's a complexity for each of us that is made that way on purpose so that somebody else has to jump in and try to control us. When really the complexity is an extension of the complication we create as a culture and individuals. Um, how do I make the most money with my podcast? How do I make the most money with my music? How do I make the most money in my company? How do I make the most friends in my social community to gain leverage so that I can get enough real estate? How do I get off the street? Do I stick with the street people? Do I stick with this group of street people, the drinkers? Where are the smokers at? Are they gonna let me in? How long is the test to be able to smoke with the smokers? Do people feed the smokers in the area? The smoking helps balance my mind. I really need that, but I'm drinking instead, so I don't really want to be with the drinkers because I'm a smoker. But I can't really be with the smokers if I'm doing what drinkers do. And then you get into, well, where you get your clothes from. I don't want to get them from the church, man. I'd rather get them from the people that go to the church that are people that are helping, or people that don't go to the church that are people that are helping. Where are those people at? Well, you can't find them. You got to go to the church so you're safe. Well, it's not safe to go to the church because they're the ones that used to put people in a box for confession to make sure they knew everything that went on in the town and all the private acts in case they needed to leverage somebody socially. Um, and they say the data doesn't travel, but the data traveled for decades. And it's New Year's Day and nothing's going on around. But I begged my family for a week for a hotel, and I finally got one last night. I can't beg them all day for a hotel again today. But what about y'all? Well, we tried to hustle on the corner, but this happened or that happened, or we got enough money and we left, or we paid $50 real quick and got into the hotel. What would you do the next day? Well, we tried again, and like all these problems are problems, and doesn't anybody like? And again, real quick, I'm just adding all this shit in here last minute. Excuse my language, but doesn't anybody have hotel vouchers from years of traveling in the hotel that they want to give to homeless people and say, hey, here's a voucher? Doesn't the hotel want to donate? Okay, we're going to put out 4 rooms a week for a month, 3 days available, rotating, et cetera, et cetera. Like all these big money things should be feeding this whole process. All the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis shouldn't be empty at the bottom rung. There shouldn't be somebody with a pocket of 10 million and people homeless in the area if your business makes that much money, man. Like it's not. That's why people in the old days, dude, you didn't get arrested for being on the street. Somebody in the local community sponsored you. All right, well, I work here. I make $10,000 a month. This person's homeless. Six, $700 a month isn't gonna hurt me at the hotel. Plus, I get a discount. Plus, it's a tax write-off. Okay, we'll help them out for X amount of time. They do this on the side. They'll earn, like, whatever it is. There's a function of getting to the depths of the problems that's just not going on. So as I walk around, like I'm in a different predicament than the average person that's a struggle in the moment because I'm a struggle in the moment with observational eyes being set on purpose. And telling you what I'm seeing is people not making the solutions available intentionally. And when you wonder who's doing it, it all trails back to the money. And when you look back to the money and find out that our government and our church format makes more money than any other group, aside from the pharmaceutical and the chemical companies, you find that they're all the same people. The government does back it. And they're all church people in financial industry. Hey, we're not saying you should smoke, but our church doesn't donate to it, but I run that company, and for years they blinded all these problems with social issues. Like there's Indians that run 7-Elevens and gas stations and cause conflict there socially, cause conflict there socially. Nobody on the surface scene understood why they were doing that to us. But we had that battle of taking our jobs going on. And while we were doing that, they were making $1 trillion a year on homeless people in the country. You know what I mean? You make 10,000, 20,000, 60,000 per homeless person by investment principle. 6,000 at a time. That's what, 36,000 to 100 and something thousand a year per person that they're making on each. Each homeless group per state. Half a million here, a million there, 10 million there. Donation principles to buildings and land, and then you have families that keep arguing. It stresses the resilience further. You try to go back home to work it out, and you're like 6 months into this, seems to be a conspiracy theory. You try to tell them about it, they either understand or they don't understand. There's conflict-driven notions, and then I'm trying to think, all right, well, I can talk about my experience with this and get some of the guys that got some experience with it, with some computer experience or some music experience or some secondary experience. And then you got everybody jumping in saying they're musicians when, they want to be, but they're really not. They're probably better at doing the other things they do. And you can't really tell them that because you don't want to hurt their feelings because it's motivational. And God loves everybody. He gives everybody a chance to do it, even though it's a failed notion in the first place. But everybody just plays that imagination. Like, I'm sorry, man, but realistically, if you got one arm, you probably shouldn't be driving a stick shift. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not legitimate for you to be trying to drive a stick shift. It makes no sense. Can you do it? Yeah, I'm sure you can manage to pull it off. But with one arm, you probably shouldn't be driving a stick shift. With corruption, you probably shouldn't be leading the country. With corruption, you probably shouldn't be saying God's words and try to tell people all this other shit. While there's homelessness for almost more than the 2,000 years you think the book was written to save humanity, homelessness has been active. Prostitution, rapes, crime, selling of humans, beating of people, profit margins decreasing, devaluation of land, stolen premise as far as situational land and use of. All that shit was going on the whole time. They said it was God helping them do it. I mean, come on, man. Let's just get real about what we're really dealing with. I got music to write. I got artwork to do. I got people to appreciate. I got fans that don't know they're my fan, not the other person's fan. To say hi to meet their kids, to work with them, to give advice on the things I'm capable of that other people want to learn. If life goes back to normalcy again, I got tree houses to build on raw land so we don't have to destroy the raw land for timber. I got ponds to fill with fish so that we can start repopulating the cultures of the things that we've depleted over the past however many thousands of species every couple of years going extinct. Even the subculture species that no one even know existed. That's still our ecostructure or format. So I don't know, man. There's a bunch of music on this YouTube site, and I got to figure out somewhere to charge my phone because the place I normally charge my phone is closed right now. And I don't have but like $1.50, so I'm probably gonna go somewhere where I can sit and charge my phone for a while, and hope I can get it charged enough. Because I spent all of my money of the $200, $300 on a hotel, so because I didn't want to be on the street causing more problems, even though it's a practice run or an accepted social run where they know it's nothing that can be done in certain ways. I didn't want to. When I had the money, I said I would go to a hotel or go camping, and I honored it. And I tried to find a room. I couldn't, so I rented one. I had enough for a room day to day or 2 rooms at a time, so I couldn't buy a solar charger. I couldn't buy an extra pack if I needed it. So I'm finding myself victimized by the things that are good for people in the ways that the world has them set to be good for people. And slight adjustment makes them really good for people. And the people in the buildings and stuff, aside from the signed off on psychological testing that goes on with it, if they would just let people be to just chill there like statues of existence when they're not bothering anybody until we can get it all managed out, it makes it a lot easier for people. And it gives them a lot less likely to be revved up, rambunctious, obnoxious in the social community behind the scenes, kicking a window in for a purse type of people, which, you know what I mean, is the bigger issue of it all. But, like they always said jokingly, similar to what I'm saying, not quoted, but like if you can walk, you can run, and you can move your arms and your legs, and you see something you need, you're gonna take it. If you ain't got legs, you're not gonna take it because you can't run away. You ain't got arms, you ain't gonna take it because you can't snatch it up. But people do it because they're desperate for things and they want to, you know? And in doing so, they cause a fear and a label, and it becomes the topic of matter because it's newsworthy. When the crime behind the scene isn't, because they can debate it to where you don't pay as much attention to it. Um, there's secondary military involvement. There's organizational government involvement in the behind the scenes of my life. I know that for a fact. There's some heavy hitters, several industries deep involved in the background of my life. And there's actually some heavy social culture people that have lived on the streets forever that can pull a string and have somebody from Mexico here in a few hours, and have somebody from the other side of the country borrow some money from a friend and end up in the other side of the country in a few hours in close proximity to my background. It is too. Um, I'm looking for love. I'm looking for solutions to these things, and I'm looking to not be in the rain and not have to see people and struggle through a notion of conflict with people because that's the way we're supposed to do it. And hey, I'm not going to help you because you need to do this in order to get help, or this in order to get help. Man, if I had help in the first place, if I need help, you'll give me a contingency to the help I get. That defeats the whole purpose, man. That means assistance to stabilize after I get the help to start to substantiate and stabilize, man. None of it makes any sense. I don't know if I'm off topic and somebody's laughing about the fact that I've said all this and was supposed to be saying something else or not. And I'm catching small glimpses of specific people and certain things. And, you know, maybe they're just taught to stand out. And maybe they're not really taught to stand out the right way. Maybe nobody can even hear anything I'm saying, but I don't know. You know, $1 a video by 600 people puts me $6,000 in over time as it adds up, you know, as the videos are produced and the structures of the videos are produced and the artwork that goes with it. Grab some prints from my print sites on E79_arts and music at Instagram, and Gary Ferrante, GaryFerrante, gmail.com, on Facebook, and WordPress at GP Ferrante, Ferrante, .wordpress.com. I got about 1,000 images that you can self-print. I request that you pay the price by size that you print. Larger sizes, get at me. I can probably give it to you for the cheaper or the larger end. If you want to do a half a wall size picture, you can probably have it for a couple $100, which is the rights to print. Prints are cheap these days, man. You get an 8x10 for $2.99 or whatever, and you know, resale on them are $45, $65, signed closer to $125. And they're all over there. So if you want to pitch in and help out that way too, cool. But I'm really trying to start utilizing the strengths of things because I gave a fuck ton away, and I'm sitting here floating light every day. You know what I mean? Hoping my parent format or my sisters or my family structure or some social structure just gives me in the same way that I gave other people millions of dollars worth of value. Um, and you know, it's a lot harder to find somebody to just give it to you, more so than when you're willing to just give it to other people. And it's an ironic catch-22 that they put you in that position to be the reason that suffocates the notion of what you're accomplishing, you know? I also know, I mean, I want to do some work in the areas of organic ponds and natural ponds and natural pools, and, you know, some of the other things I'm interested in, you'll see on my page, and music and art involved. I don't really want to do the whole like weed through everybody that thinks they are, thinks they're not. Just because you're in the military doesn't mean I think you're an honorable and respectful person. Just because you're an artist doesn't mean I think you're any good. You know what I mean? Vice versa. So I don't know, man. Always love. Hope y'all listened, enjoyed the differentiation of truth. I hope I can do something with it in the future to make it stand out a little more. Love your family and friends. And not to be cliche, but I do love everybody on the planet and everything on the planet more so than I realized when I first started this. So I hope you all can start one day feeling that way too.